Okay, so for my convenience and for your convenience, I have divided my presentation into 4 parts. First part, I will be talking about what we mean by the internationalization of higher education. I'll be talking very briefly about the globalization of higher education also and the distinction between the two. And then I will be moving to how this internationalization of higher education, how it is happening in practice. So here I will be focusing on 4 verticals. First will be the movement of the student, and second will be the mobility of the faculty, teachers, and third I will be talking about the mobility of the institutions, and fourth I will be talking about the mobility of the programs here. And then I will be talking about the Indian experiences in the field of international higher education. And in that context, I will also talk about the national education policy, because it also talks about the internationalization of higher education. This internationalization of higher education is one of the objectives of the national education policy, which has been announced in 2020. And then finally, I will be concluding. So this is the format of my presentation for the day. So firstly, what we mean by the internationalization of higher education. By internationalization of higher education, we mean that the best global teaching, learning, and research practices should be learned from one country by other country, and there should be interactions between the faculty, students, institutions based in one country with the faculty, students, and institutions based in other countries. Knowledge is produced locally, knowledge is produced nationally, and then the same knowledge is shared globally. So this process of sharing the knowledge, which is usually created locally in certain universities, in certain institutions, and then it is disseminated at the national level. Eventually, it is shared and disseminated at the global level. So this process of generating knowledge from local to national to regional to global, and the resultant interaction between the faculty, students, institutions of different countries, and by that interactions, something is coming out. Some you can say that some more comes out of it. Just example I'm giving you. Recently the pandemic happened, and the international community, the faculty, the students, the researchers, the scientists, the different universities, they came together and formed a different collaborative project at the regional and the global level. And this international collaboration, in fact, resulted in the creation of the vaccine in a record time. Because before that, many times whenever pandemic happened, it took a lot of time in coming out with the vaccine. The usual time, it was 5 years to 10 years. But in this pandemic, within a year or more than a year, the vaccine was created, and it was the result of the international collaboration between the universities, between the institutions, between the scientific community, working in the same field in the different countries. We had the problem of vaccine nationalism, where some countries tried to appropriate this vaccine technology, and they tried to create distinction between the natives and the citizens of other countries. But even then, the global spirit, the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam prevailed, and under the aegis of the United Nations. So, in fact, this vaccine is being manufactured, and it is being made available to all the countries. So, it is one of the recent example of the result of internationalization of higher education, internationalization of scientific collaborations, scientific research, etc., which has led to the benefit of the international community. So when we talk about the internationalization of higher education, so we ensure this interaction, the collaboration between the students, between the faculty, between the institutions, and between the different projects. Globalization and sometimes the internationalization of higher education and globalization of higher education are used interchangeably. Most of the time, both are the same, but there is a subtle distinction between the two also, because globalization, as we know, is the unrestricted movement of the capital, movement of the goods, movement of the services. And in this movement and the ideas, technology, etc., in this unrestricted movement of the different things, the services also comes into the picture, and health and education comes into the services category. So education is also the unrestricted movement of the faculty, of the student, and of the institutions, and of the programs comes within the purview of the globalizations of education. But then under the globalization, who some people call it the globalizations as the uh, extension of the capitalism. Because in capitalism, as Marx has said, that when the market moves, the capitalist moves, said they don't recognize, they don't accept any national frontiers, they overrun it. So this march of capitalism has led to the world emerging as a single market. So here in this, in the globalization, the unrestricted movement of services is also part of it. And as we know, the education and the health both are part of the service. In the GATT arrangement, the General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, this education was also included into that. And later on, when the WTO came into the picture, so education was also under the purview of World Trade Organization. So this education was also recognized as a commodity. So the commodification of education happened, and like anything, education also became a goods. Education also became a commodity, and since education has become a commodity, it can be bought, it can be sold, it can be traded. So if education is bought, sold, traded, and it has become a commodity, then if it is happening at the global level, then this also comes into the globalizations of higher education. So with this, I'm moving to the four constituent, the four elements, the four verticals of the internationalization of higher education, because internationalization is a process, and this process is implemented, this process is executed through four verticals. The first is the movement of the student. So students movement, it is happening all over the world. According to the UNICEF, in 2019, more than 5 million students moved from one country to another country in search of the higher education. And if you take that data for India, every year more than 4 lakh Indian students are going for higher education abroad. At any point of time, more than 10 lakh Indian students are studying abroad. So students are moving from one country to another country. And if you look at the picture, you will find that movement is from developing countries to developed countries. And among the developing countries, India is the second largest exporter of students from India to other countries. But number one student exporter is China. China is the leading country which sends its students abroad for higher education. Yeah. India comes second, and then comes Korea, Japan, and countries of Middle East, these UAE, Saudi Arabia, etc. So these are the countries who are sending their students abroad for higher education. And the recipient countries are the countries of the OECD, developed countries. Particularly, they go, majority of them go to the English-speaking countries, and naturally, the America is the main beneficiary. So, United States of America attracts the large number of students from different parts of the world. Along with America, the other popular destinations are United Kingdom, probably at number 2, then Canada, and then Australia. All these are the English-speaking countries, and large number of students from different countries go to these countries for higher education. But Middle East countries, they prefer France. So a large number of African and Middle Eastern countries, the West Asian countries, they are sending their students for higher education to to France. The pattern in the Central Europe and East Europe is that they are sending their students for higher education to Germany. Now the China has also emerged as an important destination for higher education. And in the Southeast Asian countries like Malaysia, and they are also now attracting students from outside. So this is the pattern of the students' movement from one country to another country. The recipient countries are, as I said earlier, these United States of America, Canada, Australia, United Kingdom, these English-speaking countries, where higher education is important in the English medium, and then for East Europe and Central Europe, Germany is the popular destination, and for the Francophone Africa and for Middle East countries, their preferred destination is France. So we find here the large number of students moving from one country to another country. Then there are certain things are there which students take into consideration while choosing the country for higher education. So the first criteria is that what are the prospects of employment, and then what are the prospects of citizenship. So all those countries who are liberal in granting visa for employment also, so those countries are preferred. Large number of students are going to Australia and Canada, not only because of higher education, but since the Canadian and Australians and New Zealanders, they award certain points if the concerned person has studied in their own country. So after completing their higher education in Canada, Australia, in New Zealand, in these countries, so there is every possibility that students after completing his education will not get only employment in those countries, but there is every possibility they will be getting the citizenship also. And that is why Canada, Australia, New Zealand has emerged as a popular destination all over the world for the students here from developing countries. America is also very liberal. America also grants preferential treatment while giving the citizenship to those students who have studied in their countries. So, so this employment and prospect of getting citizenship is an important criteria for the students choosing their destination for higher education. United Kingdom earlier was liberal, and they were giving the visa for employment also, but when United Kingdom became very strict in giving the visa for employment, so the moment the students completed their studies, they have to leave the United Kingdom. So the result was that the popularity of the United Kingdom came down sharply, and United Kingdom was no longer a popular destination. The recently United Kingdom has changed its visa policy, and now they have started giving the visa to the students who are completing their studies. So now again, United Kingdom is emerging as a popular destination. So, so there are various factors, not only the quality of education, some other factors are also there when the students choose the destination for their education. Now, for host countries, these students not only provide the talent, but these students also bring billions of dollars, billions of pounds in their economies. Because these students who are going abroad for higher education, most of them are coming from affluent section of the society of the developing countries. So they have enough disposable income, and these monies are invested them in those countries. So their economy is also beneficiary, benefiting from the students who are coming in their countries for higher education. all the countries, the India, China, the Middle East countries, etc., they are spending billions of dollars on the higher education of their students here. So, so it is a win-win situation for host countries who are hosting all these international students in their academic institution, because their economy is stimulated, because all these students come, they live over there, they spend a lot of money, etc. And you will find that in Canada and in Australia, many universities have been opened only for overseas students. And that is why you can recall that when Australian diplomats, Australian government has demanded that that coronavirus origin should be investigated, and yes, and an international team should be sent to China, to Wuhan, to find out how this coronavirus has originated. So China took exception to it, and China was furious against Australia, and China threatened Australia that if these kind of baseless allegations are labeled against China, then Chinese students will not be going to Australian universities for higher education. It was one of the threat. Other threats were that Chinese tourists will not visit Australia. The China will not buy their agriculture products, farm products, dairy products. China will not buy their mineral resources. And one of the threat was that Chinese students will not go to Australia for higher education, because China knew it very well that China is sending large number of students to Australia for higher education. And if China all of a sudden stopped sending students to Australia, there are many Australian academic institutions which has been opened to cater to foreign students. They will be facing some kind of problem. So, so host countries as well as the sending countries both are benefiting it. The countries which are sending their students for higher education, they bring a quality educations and they bring expertise, they bring global experiences, they bring best global international teaching and learning and research practices prevalent in those countries to their home countries. So it is a win-win situation for both the recipients of the foreign students as well as sender of the students to other countries. And the second part of this internationalization of higher education is the movement of faculty, a movement of teachers. So now the various governments have started this faculty exchange program. So they are sending their own faculty to different countries for various kind of teaching assignment. Even Government of India itself has instituted many chairs. They have started many cultural exchange programs. So faculties from here are sent abroad in this cultural exchange program. So this is one, and in case of Government of India, the government has started this GYAN, this global initiative for academic network. So this is the a network of Indian faculty and faculty from abroad. They are encouraged to go for collaborative research project, exchange program, etc. So now the faculties are moving from one country to another country, and even when this ranking of the universities is being done, so it is also the diversity of the faculty as well as diversity of the student is also one of the criteria. So there, this is also looked into, that how many overseas faculty are there in their university, in their institutions here. And now these are the movement of the faculty from one country to another country. In fact, it leads to learning from each other, the best practices of each other. So now it has also become very common, and it is being promoted at the global level. The third mobility is the institutional mobility. So the institutional mobility happens through overseas branches. So many universities, the popular universities, the prestigious universities, they are having their overseas branches. Most of the American universities, they are having their overseas branches. The European universities, Australian universities, they are having their overseas branches in different countries. In the branch, the degree is given by the original university, but the campus is located in other country. So students get education in their home country, but the degree they are getting from their parent university, which is based in Australia, New Zealand, Europe, or America. So branching is one. Now, in the new education policy, we all are familiar that the government of India has allowed leading 100 global universities, the top ranking 100 universities, they can open their overseas branches, overseas campuses in India. So all countries are doing it. China is also doing it. And China has been more successful because India has allowed it. They have parliament has sponsored the act also. But so far, the leading global universities has not shown much interest in having their branches in India. So, but China has been more successful in attracting the European and American universities to have their branches in China. And some Southeast Asian countries like Malaysia and other, they have also invited the foreign universities to have their offshore campuses in their country. The Middle Eastern countries have also done it. So the branching is one through which this institutional mobility happens. But the branching is overseas branches are not the only way through which this internationalization of institutions is happening. Institution mobility is happening. The second mechanism is the twinning program. So what is the twinning program? In the twinning program, it is getting increasingly popular all over the world, including India also. In the twinning program, they have few semesters abroad and few semesters in their own country. Suppose that there is a 4-semester program or 6-semester program. So 1 or 2 semesters they will study abroad, and rest of the semester they will study in their own country. For twinning, the credit recognition is must. So that is why you must would have read that in the National Education Policy announced in 2020. Now this academic credit bank has been created, and this the credit recognition is being adopted. So credit earned in overseas countries will be recognized here. So in twinning program, so what your credit they are earning abroad while they are studying there for 1 semester, 2 semester, whatever be the case. So whatever credits they are earning there, those credits will be included here while giving the certificates. And here in the twinning program, the effort is made that duplicity is avoided, that whatever they have studied in their home country, the same thing should not be taught while they are abroad. So the twinning program is getting popular, and most of the private university in India, whether it is Manipal, whether it is MIT, whether D.Y. Patil, Jindal, and etc. So all these private universities in India, they have adopted this twinning program. Now the government is also encouraging the public universities to go for the twinning program. So the twinning program is another mechanism and is another instrument through which this mobility of the institution is happening. And the third is the franchisee. So in franchisee, in branches, the parent university is having its own branch and they have full control over it. But in franchisee, they are giving the franchisee of their university, their institutions, to the countries concerned. So only they use their brand name, and rest of the things, what will be the process of admission, who will be the faculty, who will be the students, everything is decided by the home country. So simply they use the brand name, and the concerned country which is giving the franchisee, they try to have some kind of control over the quality of education being imported in those countries. Yeah. So this franchise is another mechanism. So the overseas branches, the twinning, and the franchisee. So these are the process, these are the mechanism, these are the instruments through which this mobility of the institution is happening. And third, and the fourth comes the mobility of the programs. Yeah. Now we all know that the education is also driven by the information and communication technology. Increasingly, we are dependent upon technology, and you see even the HRDCs have also switched over to technology. In my time, it used to be in-person classes. We used to attend in person. The resource person used to come in person and deliver the lecture over there. So there used to be the courses in physical mode, but now we have switched over to by the help of technology to the online mode. So I'm sure that participants must be connected from different part of the this country. I presume some of them must would have joined this program from my own university, because Sukanya, Chakravarti, etc. They are faculty from my university. So now this higher education is also driven by the information and communication technology. So there is an increasing role of ICT in higher education. And now the most popular program in this with this use of ICT is the MOOC program. MOOC, this massive online open courses, and it is globally becoming popular. And now we have these different tech companies, education technology companies, and tech companies are increasingly getting popular, and their market capitalization is also increasing day by day. So now the MOOC program has become so popular. America, if you go by the number of the students who have registered for MOOC programs, so America is the leading country. The second largest country where the students have registered for the MOOC programmer, so it is India only. So India is the second largest contributor to this MOOC program. And now many educationists have predicted that the day of brick and mortar university is coming to an end. The traditional university will come to an end. And he has said that in next 50 years, very few universities will be left, and most of the universities will become the online universities. But I don't agree with these kind of predictions that the traditional universities will come to an end. I don't share their pessimism, but because if you see that who have enrolled for the MOOC program, so you will find that in the MOOC program, because various research has been done over the kind of students who are enrolled for the MOOC program, it has been found that in the MOOC program, most of the students who are enrolled, they have gone for the for some kind of technical certificate, for some kind of courses for gaining some expertise, skill, etc. And all of them have done their bachelor's or masters. So after completing their bachelor's and masters, most of the students are registering themselves for to acquire certain skills in certain area of specialization through this MOOC program. So traditional universities will continue, but it is also true that this MOOC program is getting increasingly popular. In this MOOC program, so there we had open university system which came into the 60s. An open university system that we say the correspondence course, it became increasingly popular, and then it was predicted that probably education will be through these open universities. It will be through a correspondence, but these are correspondence courses are there, but traditional universities are there. So like this open universities, like the correspondence courses, this online courses will be the third alternative available to the students. So now students will have the various choices. So through these online courses, the programs are getting moved from one country to another country. Another development which has happened in this 21st century, apart from the MOOC courses, the massive online open courses, another development has been the emergence of the higher education hub. So higher education hub is the recent phenomena. So now many countries, particularly third world countries, the developing countries who are rather slightly more developed in comparison to other developing countries, because the developing countries itself is not a monolithic. You will find the different levels of development in the developing countries. So now the Southeast Asian countries, particularly Malaysia. So Malaysia is creating education hub in Kuala Lumpur. So they are inviting the all the leading universities and research institutes to have their campuses in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and they are offering various kinds of incentives to these global universities. So now Kuala Lumpur has emerged as Malaysia has emerged as one of the global hubs. So many Australian, New Zealand, and American, European universities are having their branches in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Indian Manipal, D.Y. Patil and MIT, they have also their branches in Malaysia. So this is one hub, education hub. But Malaysia is not only. Hong Kong is also trying to develop itself as an education hub. So Hong Kong is also inviting all these leading universities of the world to have their campuses in Hong Kong. Singapore is doing the same. So Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, these are the countries. And in Mauritius is doing the same. In Middle East, in West Asia, Doha, in Qatar, Abu Dhabi and Dubai in United Arab Emirates. So Dubai, Abu Dhabi and Doha, these are the three places in West Asia. They are also developing itself as an education hub in their region. So the objective here is that the best institutions of higher education must have their campuses in their country, and so that these institutions are attracting the students, because many times many students find that that instead of going to America and Europe for higher education, they should go to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Doha, or for that matter, Kuala Lumpur, Hong Kong, and Singapore, because the cost of living in these places are less, and the fee structure is also less. So it is cost effective. It is much cheaper than going to study Europe and America, because cost of living is very high and fee is also very high. So that is not affordable. So affordability factor is here, and then there are certain local factor, because the West Asian people feel more comfortable in the UAE and in Qatar, Abu Dhabi, Doha, etc., and Malaysia, and many Muslim people also, because of rising Islamophobia, they feel they are more safe in Kuala Lumpur, Doha, Abu Dhabi, etc., rather than going to the West and to Europe. Yeah. So there are various local factors, regional factors, and the problem of rising Islamophobia and the rising extremism and the racism, etc. So these factors are also involved, that now students are choosing these educational hub instead of going to Europe and America for higher education. So this educational hub is another phenomenon, because here we find that students' mobility as well as institution mobility, both are happening here. So institutions are moving from their country and they are having their overseas campuses in a particular city, and the students are also moving there. So this is another development which has happened in the 21st century. So, this online courses and this education hub. These are the two recent phenomena which has happened in the field of higher education, and these are also part of the higher education. Now I'm coming to the Indian experiences in the field of higher education, internationalization of higher education. In fact, the Europeans claim that the university system evolved in Europe, but the oldest universities are were founded in India. It is said that Puspagiri in Odisha is probably the oldest university in the world. It was founded around 500 BC. And then Puspagiri is one. And then later on, Taxila is also one of the oldest university. So Taxila attracted the students and faculty from all over the world. So Taxila was the center of learning at its time. And here in Taxila, the students as well as faculty, the teachers came from all over the world. Apart from Taxila, then Nalanda later on emerged as a international center of education. And it is said that its peak time, it's a golden time. More than 10,000 students and faculty were living in Nalanda. And so they were teaching and learning in Nalanda. And apart from Takshila and Nalanda, the Vikramshila, Vallavi, etc., Ujjain. So there have been many universities in ancient India which were so popular all over the world that it attracted students and faculty from all part of the world. So internationalization of higher education in India is not such a new thing. We have the experiences of attracting the overseas students and faculty from a very long time. During the medieval period and during the British period, this higher education suffered a lot, and India was victim of that. And probably Mahatma Gandhi has said that he can forgive for all the sins of Britishers, but he cannot forgive the Britishers for destroying the education system of this country. So this destruction of education system of this country is one of the great injustice done by the Britishers, by the colonial rule in this country. Now we are picking up and we are trying to emerge again as a Vishwaguru, because in ancient time India was called as a Vishwaguru. So now the national education policy, which has been announced recently, the 2020. And before that, the previous national education policies also, the internationalization of higher education was one of the integral part of this policy. So now, if you look at this Indian picture, that what is happening, so it is very scary, and it is also very painful that Indian students are going everywhere in the world. And they are going everywhere in the world for not necessarily for quality education. Sometimes they are going abroad for substandard education. You see, whenever any crisis is happening anywhere in the world, you will find the Indian students are the first victim here. When coronavirus broke out all over the world, so the first victim in India were the Indian students who were studying in China, because it broke out in Wuhan. So government of India, the first concern of government of India was how to bring back the Indian students who have gone to China for higher education, particularly for medical education. Thousands of Indian students were stranded there because lockdown was announced. Somehow they are brought, these Indian students were brought back from China. Now the problem has not come to an end only with the bringing back the Indian students to India. Now the same students want to go back to China, but China is not allowing them to come back to their country, because China is not recognizing the vaccine which is being administered in India. China is insisting that the Chinese vaccine should be administered to the students, only then they will be allowed to come to that country. So China is practicing the vaccine nationalism. So this problem with their government of India is in touch with the Chinese government to how to ensure that these students who came to India by leaving their studies in between, how they should get back to. So it is very painful that India is pleading to Chinese government to allow its students to go over there. So this is not one thing. Even when the Ukraine crisis happened, we all are aware the first concern of the Indian government, India government has not to do much with the Ukraine crisis because Ukraine is far away from us. And with the Russia-Ukraine problem, India has nothing to do with. Indian geopolitical interest, Indian national interest is hardly affected by this crisis. But India was also implicated because thousands of Indian students were there in Ukraine. They have gone there for medical education. So the first priority, the first concern, the first anxiety of the government of India was how to bring these students back to the country. Operation Ganga was launched. So the students were contacted, the neighboring countries were contacted, the Russian government were contacted, the Ukrainian government were contacted, and so the arrangements were made. India used its soft power to bring these students back safely to this country. And then now India is worried what will happen to the future of these countries because these students have gone there for medical education, for education to these. So Indian students are going to China, going to Ukraine, not only Ukraine and China, they are going to Philippines also, they are going to Vietnam also. There is hardly any country where Indian students have not gone to study there. And the quality of education in these countries probably is not better than India. Indian medical students are going to Ukraine, going to Georgia, going to even they are going to Central Asian countries also, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan also. So it is very painful to see that our Indian students going everywhere where the standard of education is not so good, and the quality of education is also very suspect. In fact, when these students complete their medical education in these countries and come back to India, they have to undergo a test to get the permission to practice in India. And this test is conducted by the Medical Council of India. And you will be surprised to know the pass percentage of these students who have taken degrees from Ukraine, Georgia, Malaysia, Philippines, Kazakhstan, Central Asia, all part of the world. The pass percentage is only 15-16%, means 85% students fail, means they can't get the certificate to for medical practice in India. So you can imagine the quality of poor education these students are getting in these foreign medical institutions. One Chinese professor met me and he told me that in China, they are having this English courses in medical courses only for the overseas students, mainly from the students from India. They have the medical courses in Chinese language and Mandarin for their own students, and they have English courses for the overseas students, particularly students going from India. The students going over there, it is only because of cost reason, because medical education in India is so costly. By paying a fraction of that amount, they can get the same medical degree from Ukraine, China, Philippines, Central Asian countries, Southeast Asian countries, etc. So this is very painful. If you look at the export and import of the student, so as I said earlier, India is sending more than 4 lakh students every year to foreign countries for higher education. And as I said earlier, the America attracts the largest number of students. Around 40% of students go to United States of America, and then Australia comes second. It's around 15 to 20%. They go to Australia, and then comes Canada. It is around 10%, and then comes United Kingdom. It is again 7 to 8%. So, and rest go to the different parts of the world. So this is so 4 lakh Indian students going abroad for higher education every year, and more than 10 lakh students at any point of time are getting education abroad. So this is a quite large number. And if you see the how many students are coming to India, so it is less than 50,000. Less than 50,000 students are coming to India for higher education. So, we send 4 lakh students every year, and we receive 50,000 students every year. Means we are sending large number of students overseas, getting very few. So now this new education policy has declared that by 2024, this 5,000 figures should be quadrupled. It should be 2 lakh by 2024. So this is the target that has been fixed by the new education policy. It's an ambitious target that seems very unrealistic. So, so Government of India has started the Study India program. So by the Study India program, they are giving the liberal scholarship, around 6,000 scholarship they have announced for the students who are opting to study in India. And if you see that the students coming to India, so most of the students are students from neighboring countries. Then Nepal is the largest contributor. More than 25%, more than a quarter students are coming from Nepal only. So Nepal contributes more than 25% of the overseas students who have come here for higher education. Afghanistan comes second, and around 10% students are coming from Afghanistan. And then comes Bangladesh, around 5% students are coming from Bangladesh. 2-3% are coming from Sri Lanka. So some students are also coming from America. The American students mainly are coming from language learning, and some European students, they are also coming to India for higher education. So now the Government of India is making a strategy how to attract the overseas student. So they have put up a plan, and they are focusing on their area of strength. So what are the areas of strength where Indian government can attract the students, overseas students? So we have the yoga. You all know the yoga is so popular all over the world. So now many overseas students are interested in knowing about doing some courses in yoga, knowing about yoga. Yoga is being taught in my own university, Banaras Hindu University, and some universities are also starting yoga courses in their campuses. So yoga can be one course which can attract the overseas student. And then after yoga, the Ayurveda is the second important thing, because there are many harmful effects of allopathic treatment. And now the world is also looking at the alternative treatment. And in the alternative treatment now, Ayurveda is getting increasingly popular all over the world. So Ayurveda can be another area where we can attract the overseas students. And then the third area is the Sanskrit, the learning of Sanskrit. Sanskrit, as we all know, is one of the most scientific languages. So many Germans are also studying Sanskrit to develop it as a computer language, because we know that there are various problems in English language. So, but the Panini grammar, the Sanskrit based on Panini grammar is the most scientific. So the international community is also interested in learning Sanskrit. So Sanskrit can be another area of strength where we can attract the students from outside. Then Indian culture, Indian cuisine, and these are also the dance, drama, music, etc. These are also areas where the foreigners, the overseas students might be interested. So Government of India is trying to attract the students at least in these courses where there is no better choice than India, that we should market it globally and invite the students to join these courses. So these are. So now we can be hopeful that probably the number of students going abroad will come down, and the number of students coming to India for higher education should go up. So and again, probably India can regain its status of a Vishwaguru. Just